All right, so the next step is actually contacting banks so that you can get approved for your first business loan. Now, just from what I've found, the research I've done, regional banks are typically going to be the best for lending. They don't have as strict as lending requirements compared to like Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Chase, right? Doesn't mean you shouldn't apply with them, right? I'm just saying like they're very strict. Um, there's people that have done it, they've gotten approved. Um, they just probably have like some very strong financials, good personal credit, etc. Right? Um, anyways, so icba.org, bank locally. You can basically look at a map like this and find local banks. The example I had here was West Valley National Bank, and you'll see that under they have like business banking under business loans. They have the operating loans, lines of credit, or whatever it is you need, right? I like to go for these, like the lines of credit, because a line of credit, think of it as a very large credit card that you can use for cash, writing. Some places let you write checks against it. They may even assign a debit card to the account, right? So it's basically a big fat credit card, except that the rate's the same regardless whether you swipe the card, pay in cash, whatever, right? Doesn't matter. And also the difference between like a business loan and a business line of credit is with the business loan, if you get $100,000, well, they're going to give you the full 100,000, right? On the line of credit, if you get $100,000, well, since it works just like a credit card, if you only spend 1,000 or 10,000, whatever the amount is, well, you only owe whatever it is you spend. So if you don't spend anything on it, you don't owe anything on it, right? Um, but anyways, that's kind of how that works. I'm not going to get too deep into the types of products and all that because again, this is just more how to talk to the banks. And it's honestly a lot. A lot of this you're going to have to learn as you go. Another good website is usbanklocations.com, right? And just to kind of right off the rip to give you some more actionable steps, uh, Bank of the West, BMO Harris, where is it? I think First Citizens Bank might be good, but BMO Harris, Bank of the West, PNC Bank, Key Bank, and I think Regis Bank. They're all really good banks to start off with if you're new. Fifth Third Bank is also good. I heard good things about them. But anyways, just because I'm telling you this doesn't mean you should apply it. I'm just saying like there's some pretty good banks. You can look in Arizona banks. Um, I don't know. Let's just say I want to go somewhere where it's like large. You know what I'm saying? Where is it? Phoenix. We're just gonna click on Phoenix. Where is Phoenix? Okay, that's weird. Hold on. Okay, so here you'll see different options, right? Flagstar Bank, I heard, is also good. But yeah, you go through these banks, make a list, and here's kind of like the questions you want to ask. So the type of lending, whatever that is you're looking for. Usually it's on their website, but yeah, you ask them type of lending. Can I apply with multiple LLCs? This is if you're trying to fund multiple companies. Do you check personal credit? One thing I do want to say though, and immediately address is almost all do check personal credit. So you're gonna have to have strong personal credit. You're gonna want to maintain it. Uh, and also a lot of them still do PG, right? I've talked to bankers and they say, yeah, there is non PG like business loans and products, but that's kind of more reserved for like the corporations on the stock market. We just don't have that type of financial power where they'll be happy to just lend the money to the business and only say the business worries about it, right? Um, we're technically small business owners. Well, we are small business owners, right? And so for us to get a non PG product, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying you're going to have a really, really attractive business, Anyways, so that's how that works. So they are going to check your personal credit almost always. If they do check your credit, ask them what credit bureau do they check, right? What documents do you require? For example, do you need my tax returns, balance sheet, P&Ls, etc.? How old does my business need to be? Most require minimum of 2 years, right? will a UCC lien be applied? If so, what lien position? So is it first, second? Um, and a lien, basically, a lot of these places they'll say like, we're going to go ahead and offer you a secured line of credit. The way we're going to secure it is using the business assets. And so we're going to put a lien on the business. Now that doesn't mean you're screwed. All that means is that if you were to default on the loan, well, they now have rights to the business assets, and so then they will come and liquidate the business, right? Um, However, the lien is only enforceable if you default most of the time, right? Or something happens with the loan. There's tons of or so, like, let's say you default, they'll enforce the lien, and then after that, whatever's left over from the business, they'll go ahead and acquire. So cash accounts, if it's a brick and mortar, they'll sell like all your chairs, the office chairs that you might have, and it's just a way for them to recoup their losses, right? So it's not a good or bad thing to have a lien. It just means that that's how they're going to secure the loan, right? If it's an unsecured business loan, well, then that means there's no UCC lien. That doesn't mean not pay, because again, if they like most of these products are still PG products. So basically, even though it's unsecured and you don't pay, well, they're not going to come after anything, but they may put a judgment on your personal credit, things like that, right? Again, I'm gonna have a separate, more in depth course that goes into all this stuff. Like the UCC liens, um, the reporting, etc. Right? Now, another question is, can I still apply if I have a line of credit or loan with another bank? The reason that's important is you can actually stack these. I've stacked approvals in the past where I've gotten like $1.1 million off two LLCs. And so the strategy I did is I sent two businesses through one bank, and then since I was still able to use the business for funding reasons, because they told me, they're like, yeah, you can go ahead and still apply, with other lenders. That's fine. Well, what I did is I went ahead and went with another bank as well, submitted the app, and that's how I got like $1.1 million in lines of credit, right? Because they allowed multiple LLCs, and then the other lender that I wanted to use also allowed multiple LLCs, and both of them didn't care that I already had a loan with another bank and things like that. Usually, what's going to happen that will prevent you from getting another loan is they might see the UCC lien and be like, okay, well, you already have a first position lien. Um, that's not going to work because we don't like taking second position, so we're just going to deny you. There's other places that they may be okay with taking second position, or they just may give you an unsecured uh, loan amount, and it'll be a lot smaller, right? So generally speaking, if you can find lenders that can approve you for the most without having to put a lien on, then I would go with them. But there are cases where it might be better to go with the lender that is offering you a higher approval amount, but then they're going to secure it with a lien. There's cases where that's okay. It all comes down to your strategy and what you're looking to do. In my case, the reason I went the way I did is because I wanted to get the most. I think the last loan they did do a UCC lien because it was like 250 or I think 300,000 that they got me approved for. So it was a bunch of like 250, 250, 250, and then the last amount was like something large, right? And so they secured it with the lien, and then at that point I was capped out on funding. And again, I'm gonna have an actual like more in-depth course, right? These are just actionable steps, things like that you can start taking. Anyways, can I still apply if I have a line of credit or loan with another bank? Hopefully they say yes, right? And then this is another important thing. What industries do you lend to? And that's why I say it's important to have a very generic and ambiguous like business name, because if you stick to one specific industry, it could limit your funding options or disqualify you altogether. And so they'll let you know, like, hey, we're okay with e-commerce businesses, this, and that. However, we don't like people that are in real estate. Doesn't matter if it's like property management or anything. We just don't like real estate. And some banks are like that. They just don't lend to certain industries. So it's important to ask. Now, what is the max limit you lend for an unsecured line of credit and slash business loan. Now, the reason why we want to say ask this specific question, unsecured line, is because once we get to the secure, once they secure the line of credit, well, almost always that business is done for funding. You're not going to be able to go and get more, right? Because very few lenders are going to take a second position lien. Um, they just because they have no way to guarantee they're going to get paid, right? Because again, if something were to happen to your business where they have to enforce the lien and then liquidate your business, well, the person that has the first position, they get paid out. And then the second position, they get the leftovers. So they're probably not even going to get paid. A lot of times they don't even get paid. So that's why almost no one does second position. And that's why you want to ask the max limit. So that way you're within those thresholds, right? So, if they say, yeah, like the most approved unsecured is 100,000, and they're like, we allow multiple LLCs, and we don't care that you go and get more with other lenders. Well, then at that point, I would greenlight them as a good lender because what I can do is start stacking, right? And that's what I did. Someone like the two banks I found, I think it was BMO Harris and then First Interstate Bank. They're like, yes, you can use multiple LLCs. Okay, great. I'm like, what about the UCC lien? They're like, yes, we have unsecured options and secured options. I'm like, okay, great. What's the max limit for me to get before it becomes a secured line of credit? And they're like, I think in their case, yeah, it was anything over 250. So then what I did is I just went under that limit. And again, you got to remember these bankers, they also want easy deals. So it's not like I was doing anything sketchy, right? All I did was like, hey, like let me go ahead and get right at that threshold, these lines of credit for these two LLCs, um, and see what happens, right? And so that's what we did. I think the first approval I got, yeah, it was First Interstate, so it was like 250 with one LLC and then 250 with the other, and then after that I went to BMO, and then same thing, right? I'm like, let me just get right under that threshold, but I think the exposure was too much, and so that's why they only secured one line of credit, and they put the lien and all that. So out of $1 million, I think only $250,000 of that was an actual secured line of credit, um, and all they did was put the lien and that's it, right? And again, I guess like the main thing, the strategy is if they can do multiple LLCs, you know, then ask what the lien looks like. Like are you gonna put a lien, and then the max limit for an unsecured line. So basically, 250K unsecured, you know, 250K unsecured. Oh shit, that's terrible typing. Unsecured, and then 250K unsecured, and then maybe they'll say like we'll give you like another 250, but then we're gonna secure it, right? And so then you can get like 750 versus going to a lender that says, yeah, we'll give you 300K, but we're gonna secure it with a lien. Well, then at that point, if you try to go to other lenders, denied, denied. You can't stack it, right? But the way I did it, even though I got less with the first and then the second, but then the third was all the same. Well, that's like 750, right? And that's where I got capped at versus getting capped here, right? And so that's the thing with these that's why I ask these questions. Can I use multiple LLCs, etc. Right now, this could all change depending on your business, and that's why people hire us, right? Because like we just depending on how their business is set up, like we just know right off the bat like which lenders to use, etc. Because some places, like even though it's a secured line, I mean, it may work out for you because you might have accounts receivables, right? And so you can use your not only the cash in the account that in your checking account in the business checking account, but also like the business account receivables, and secure the line of credit and make it basically collateralize it, right? Because yeah, I mean, if we just read this, so secured usually requires cash, inventory, real estate, or some other collateral, but usually banks ask collateral if you are applying over a certain limit. So let's say you want $500,000 on a line of credit. Well, they're like, hey, you're already over our threshold. At this point, we do have to secure it, and we need some collateral. well, then they're going to go ahead and take a look at your balance sheet and see, okay, there's cash here. We have some inventory there, accounts receivable. Let's go ahead and just take like half of their accounts receivable, and then the rest will secure it with the cash and put the UCC lien, right? Just to kind of give you a quick idea of how they underwrite. Um, but yeah, anyways, however, some lenders may allow you to apply up to an amount. So, for example, 100K unsecured, meaning no collateral is needed. You just need strong financials and they will fund your business, right? So, a lot of this, the key to this is having very strong financials. Um, Even though your personal credit, again, like you want to have strong personal credit and you want to have strong financials, and then you want to have like some business credit, right? I mean, you don't have to have a ridiculous amount. Everything I taught you in the previous like modules is more than enough, really, to for you to go ahead and get these lines of credit. Really, what you're doing is kind of just getting your name out there, I guess, into the databases, getting some sort of score. But then when you go ahead and actually apply with these lenders, since you look fairly credible, you did all the steps to get onto like Experian for Business or Duns and Bradstreet. Um, when you provide them the financials and stuff, and then you're talking to them, it's gonna go ahead and just increase your chances with getting an approval versus someone that just goes in there right off the bat. They don't have a score, like it's gonna take longer for them. So yeah, that's that, right? I can honestly keep going on and on and on about this, but at this point, like you just kind of have to like go with it. If you have questions, concerns, I guess just reach out to me. I'll do my best to answer questions. Or again, like just have us do the funding for you because this is all I do. At this point, I can look at a business and have an idea on where to go just automatically. I don't have to really think too much about it, right? Um, Here's a good other resource. If you need this, I can email it to you. Basically, it's kind of just like a bank interview for underwriting guidelines. Some questions you want to ask. Um, and you'd ask these for a specific reason, like the verification of taxes. They call it a 4506T for business and personal. And that's just because, like, some places they don't do that verification. And so, whatever you give them, they're going to go off of, right? Um, so, like, if you give them tax returns from like 2 years ago, whatever, like, because that's what they're requesting, that they're just going to take your word for it. Other places, they're going to go ahead and do a 4506T and cross reference that. Personal debt schedule. This is like the financial docs, right? The UCC, um, is it streamlined below 100K, no CDCC, etc., right? Time in business. A lot of places want to personal credit. What kind of score do you need? Honestly, you're gonna want to be at least a 680. Some places they're okay with that, at least a 680. But no, actually, scratch that. You're gonna want to be at least a 700. Um, but after that, anything above like 720 is really where you want to be. But if you're at a 700, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Which credit bureau do you pull, right, etc. So this is just some good stuff. If you want it, I'll email it to you. I'll send it to you in an email. Um, but yeah, like really the key factor in all this at this point is just getting those reps in, calling the banks, getting to know the lingo. You honestly you like call multiple banks because you might not have the confidence yet, like honestly, and some of these bankers they can be very aggressive. And what I mean by that is like if they kind of sense that you're just information gathering rather than actually having intentions of applying, they're not going to really treat you too nicely. Like they're not going to cuss at you or anything. They're just going to make it short, give you very very broad answers that don't even answer the question, but it's to the average person it does sound like they answered it. Right? So like you'll be like, hey, so what kind of financials would I need? They'll be like, oh, well, just the standard financial package. So like, just the standard stuff that people ask for. So it did answer your question, but it didn't. So get the reps in, start calling places, and yeah, I don't know if there's anything else I'm missing, but as things kind of like materialize and evolve, I'm sure this will be more expanded on. But for sure, in the full in depth course, uh, it'll have more details on this, like how you want to talk to them, things to look out for. I'll even go into the financials more, show you some bank statements, or not bank statements, sorry, some returns, and kind of show you how they underwrite. I'm not an underwriter, but just because I've been doing this for so long, I know what they're looking at. I know how to read a balance sheet, right? I know what the ARs are for and all that good stuff. So, yeah. Anyways, basically, again, this course is just a quick overview for you to get started and really just get your feet wet, right? Um, if you want to get a pro, like basically just be a master at this stuff and like really, really understand it, then you're gonna want to basically do the full in-depth course that goes into like the reporting, why we ask these questions, um, how to look at financials, how are they like calculating what you're gonna get, etc. Right? So yeah, just look out for that. If you want that, then I can always add you to like a little list, and once that's finished, I'll just send that over and figure all that out. But yeah, I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good day.